Hello, everyone that's joined us for this Future of Work talk with Trevor Longino, who joins us from Crowd Tamers. Thank you so much for giving up your time today to chat all things AI and marketing. Do you want to just give a quick overview and introduction of yourself and Crowd Tamers?
Sure. So I'm Trevor. I own and run Crowd Tamers. We're a go-to-market agency for startups. I built $77 million marketing engine in the last 3.5 years. And I've taken 15 different companies from zero to more than 3 million in revenue. And one of the things I'm doing that I thought would be interesting to share about the future of work is my team right now, there's 7 of us. We're reliably delivering for all 11 of our clients what looks like, 5 years ago would be half-time work for a team of 7 for each of the 11 clients because of how much use we make of AI. And that, I think, is what the future of work looks like, is how you use AI to do more better and not replace jobs. And so that's what I thought would be fun to chat about.
And tell us when you set your business up and how things have changed since those days of setting it up.
Sure. So when I first set up my business, I started 14 years ago. I'm almost 15 years ago now. It was just my side freelancer thing. I made it an actual proper agency about 3.5, almost 4 years ago now, and was just adding on some people to basically increase my throughput. And as I was doing that in 2022, ended up partnering up with somebody to build basically a little thin wrapper around Llama. And we actually launched 4 products, 1 a week in February. Basically the same thin wrapper, but branded differently. Because a lot of what I do, a lot of what I teach, a lot of how I execute is what matters more than your product is how you talk about it. And the real success to building a $1 million marketing engine is when you know how to talk about what you sell to the people who want to buy it. And so as part of proving this in public, I launched the same startup 4 different times to 4 different audiences. And one of them worked. One of them popped. We got a couple customers, I think 2 or 3, and one of them bought the business, took it away. And as I was working in AI, working on this and learning about it, I went, there's a lot more to this than we think about. And this was back when GPT-3 was new. And I saw a couple really interesting stats. One of them was it's one of the fastest apps ever to 1 million users. But it also was like an inversion of a ball bounce, because 1 million people used it, tried it once, and went, I don't get it. Almost all of them milked out. And then a small percentage, like 1/10 of 1%, stuck around and really started to see, what do you do with this? And the future of AI, which is crashing in on us, but which has also always been a couple years away from taking all of our jobs, and will always probably be a couple years away from taking all of the jobs. I started to see not my agency is going to be out of work, which was one of my big concerns in 2022, was like, GPT-3, this is showing up. I think 1.3 is out, all these things are available. Do I, as a writer, as a knowledge worker, do I have a job in 2030? In 2040? Is there going to be work for me anymore? Or have we made AI that writes our poems and paints our paintings, and then we're stuck only available to do all the plumbing and all of the scut work and all of the creativity that in theory humans are best at, be given away to beings that are smarter than us? If this is our dystopia. And the more I work in this space, the more I'm like, no, I don't think we're building a dystopia. We probably are, but not the way we think. Instead, business owners who are intelligent and intentful in what they're building, I think are going to be able to make things that are markedly better than what we have delivered in the past for both them, their employees, and their customers.
That's super interesting. You talk about clients that you've worked with and clients that you've helped build their business for them. And you also mentioned about your team.
When you are traditionally hiring and building a team, right, there are a few pieces that go into it. Most companies want to bring them in-house for, I guess, the focus, the security, the whatever. Recruiting is labor-intensive, it is time-intensive, it is expensive, and having the staff on hand ends up, running a modest-sized marketing department, right? I was the company, I'm wearing their shirt today. These folks, the last company I was an employee of, I had a 4-person marketing team. And I think the combined cost for us every month would have been 25 or 30 grand, just in staff, like overhead and everything. And then there's the marketing. Marketing, right? We're the expensive habit that's hard to break. We're kind of like heroin. And we end up, right, the spend every month on advertising, on swag, on stupid t-shirts, on whatever, right? On top, looking at 35 or 40K a month. If you were to instead take this and put this to an outsourced team, like, for example, Crowd Tamers, just to pick a name out of a hat, have them deliver for you. All your costs go way down in terms of the staffing. Your other costs remain the same, right? The same ad spend, the same swag spend, whatever. But you can get people who are fractionally working for you, and each individual person in my team, each individual contributor, ends up actually becoming a team lead of autonomous AI agents, which requires a brain shift on, I think, the individual contributor's part and on the manager's part. Because what I want my team to do now is teach an AI to do part of their job very well and in 20 seconds. And then it's human in the loop. AI is the average of the internet. And I don't know if you've read the internet, but most of it is full of idiots. And so when you get the average of that, you get a bunch of idiocy. Now, good prompting will give you a better output, but you still have to have a human with a critical eye take the 90% done thing and be the human in the loop to make it actually really fit. AI hallucinates, AI gets things wrong in general. Like, human has to be able to evaluate the AI not there. And that team lead who makes the process of this piece of my work is atomized and done by AI. I get the output, I do the last 10% and hand it off. Means you can, if I take what was a 4-hour task and make it a 20-second task, and then I have 30 minutes of fixing it, I've just taken the work required to deliver it down, what's that, 1/6 and 1/8 of what it used to be. And now I can do full-time work for 8, 12, maybe 20 clients by doing what used to be middle management job of saying, hey, my employee, go solve this thing, right? A bounded scope problem, go write this blog post. Now instead, the writer says to AI, go write this blog post, I'll fix it up and pass it along. So it changes both how you train your employees, because now there is effectively no individual contributor in the company. We're all managers. And then also, the outputs that you get on the client side will probably be the same quality or even better, because the physical dross of I have to make 300 ad images, or I have to create 70 snippets of video from this interview, or whatever, mostly is done. And then you have a human to just put the last finishing touch on, which is the most valuable part, is taking something from a middling effort to an A effort, right? But it used to be you'd spend 8 hours making the C effort, and then not have the time to put in 1 hour to make it an A. So this is the change that we're seeing. This is what's different now with the future of work. So AI is again trained on the average of us. We're all, like it or not, as a collaboration of 1,000 humans, a bunch of them are racist, right? You can put in measures to try and combat that, but then sometimes you get silly outputs. I remember right after Gemini came out, they were very devoted to, let's put representation in. People were like, hey, I want to see an image of Japanese imperial court in the 1500s. Make me a picture. And like, half of the people were people of African descent. And you're like, that's not how the Tokugawa shogunate was, right? Like, they didn't have that. It's impossible. So you can go too far, right? I think there is an AI ethics question around how do we model AI to not be the sum of us, but the sum of our aspirations instead. And that is an elevation effect. That's part of it. And there's a big ethical question around AI is trained on data sets that were not particularly licensed for this, right? Google scraped the internet and went, here's training data, or OpenAI did the same thing. People looked at millions of images, AI should I say, right? Looked at millions of images and then went, great, now I can draw in this style. And is that ethical? As somebody who is both an artist, albeit a middling one, and a writer who's a pretty good one, my outputs in either of these arts, or as a musician, and I'm a pretty bad one of those, I think my outputs of these are because I absorbed information. I didn't license, I mean, I don't know, for like writing, right? I've read J.R.R. Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, right? I didn't license training from him, even if now when I write, I am informed by him. And I didn't license from Jim Lee of Marvel Comics training data, even though now when I draw, some of my choices are informed by how he draws. To me, the ethics of that is roughly the same. I earn a living with writing, with management skills, which also were all taught to me by somebody else, observationally and instructionally. The presence of all this information out there as a way to teach consciousnesses exists. I don't think you can really say that's unethical to train on that. So there's the two different levels, right? One is, can you train data on just available data sets? Is that ethical? I think it is. How do you make AI into a better version of us than we are to help us make decisions that should improve equity more than just equality? That's an AI ethicist problem, and one that I let the smart AI ethicists worry more about than me. 10 to 12. So most founders come into business and they know three things. They know what they're building, they know who wants it, and they know how to sell it to them. And they are wrong about those three things. It's inevitable, particularly in the early days. And go-to-market is such an interesting term to me because it implies that you just kind of you show up at the grand bazaar, roll out your carpet, and then now here you are in business. It's actually a dialogue because you're trying to go to the market and the market is trying to run away from you. And you have to steer your course to where the money is. If you don't observe where I go here, oh wait, actually over here where there's some money, I want to go this, oh no, let's move back over here. If you don't course correct on all of that, if you go, no, I know who my buyer is, I know how to sell to them, I understand what they want most, and you're adamant in your opinions, you will probably fail. There are always the edge cases, the Airbnbs, the Ubers of a business that logically makes no freaking sense and no one ever should have launched. But the majority of businesses aren't that. And when you launched your business, being ironclad that you know how to market and you know this product is going to be a thing is 99.9 to 6 significant figures of the time not going to work out well for you. You have to listen and adapt. And a lot of founders haven't learned that skill. It is a very different skill than being a middle manager or even being a senior exec. If you're in an established company and you take over as CEO and they're doing $10 million a year and you go up to $20 million a year, cool, good for you. But you started on third base and you're like, great, I hit a triple. No, you arrived on third base and then you're moving forward from there. Founders are taking their first swing at that. It's all an unknown field, unknown rules, unknown environment. They have to be able to adapt. Some founders deal with it well. Some founders don't find my advice useful. I think it depends on your mindset, right? I used to give a talk called "No One Wants Your Stupid Product," and the problem was the talk was a pretty good talk, but people found the title was so off-putting. But the truth is, no one wants your stupid product. They want the result of it. And people wouldn't listen past the first sentence. They'd be like, "Screw you." People do on my product. I've had 40 people on a customer research call tell me they'd love it. And I'd say, phenomenal. Did any of them give you money? And they'd go, no. I'd say, then no one wants your stupid product. Until you've gotten money, no one wants your stupid product. And even then, they don't want your product. They want the thing your product does, right? So a founder who's willing to listen to that will tend to be more successful. Again, there are the founders who are against the grain, iconoclasts, who will succeed anyway. That is not most. They can get uncomfortable sometimes. Yes, sure. One of the really repeatable ways I've helped founders figure out how to fundraise is, you can go on my website and find it's called minimum viable sprints. Go search it on my website, crowdtamers.com. Minimum viable sprints are $100 48-hour ad campaigns that help you test messaging and prove it. I've had 4 or 5 startups in this last year who are pre-product. And so we build them a landing page, whateverdomain.com, just a WordPress website, right? There's no actual app. We send traffic to the landing page. We see how many people sign up. There's no product yet. You click the sign up button and it goes, oh no, the beta's full. Put in your information though, and we'll contact you when there's more room, right? So I've missed my chance at the product. Darn. Let me give them my email address and hope they get back to me soon. A year might pass. These people are not going to be your first beta users. But what you're measuring is, what's the cost to acquire that sign up? Because that cost you can then use as a really good proxy for, if I had a product, what would it cost? And then you can go to an investor and say, hey, I've got a product where I know my average customer value will be $2,000. I'm getting leads for $12 a pop. I need $500,000 to build the product, and then the engine that already works to bring me leads at $12 a pop, I can instantly turn it back on. And once I have product, I'll be printing money. Because $12 per sign up, you work out the math, is going to run at the most about $600 per paying customer, or $2,000 per customer. That's a pretty good return. So there you go. You can go to investor with that. That's a way to use marketing and data and go-to-market information to give an investor a very persuasive argument on why you need a ticket from them. I do see, by the way, in chat, Alex and I think Hank have both asked questions. Alex asks, can I elaborate why so many people are doomsayers and think that AI is going to take away the cognitive work from us and leave us stuck digging ditches and, watering lawns for our robot overlords. So I think there's 2 reasons why I think this. One of them is, right now, the only way we can train AI is training it on the average of humanity. And as I've already discussed, think of the average person and then think about the fact that half of humanity is dumber than that. I would not feel threatened by an AI that's as smart as that, right? But also, we are at the point right now where AI's ability to actually ratiocinate is very bad. We have 3 different big chunks of what AI is doing at the moment. One is deep data analysis and surfacing unusual outliers. Okay. AI can do crazy vector math with great facility. That's nice to know. AI can then look at tremendous data sets and act in a predictive manner on those data sets. LLMs are a good example here, so are self-driving cars. And then the third one is AI can, as a neural network, kind of from the ground up, build understandings of different types of neural models and do things. That one is computationally the most intensive and actually not what most AI people are really pushing for these days. None of these gets to consciousness quite yet. And we're all, I think, very leery of giving AI what really honestly seems to be like self-actualized consciousness. I think we have 200 years of fear of mechanical humanoids destroying us all to make us be like, let's not just equip AI to overthrow humanity. I think we have a natural, almost an instinctual instinct to limit that. So AI, I don't think, has the potential to be overlord yet. I think rather like self-driving has been 2 or 3 years away for 40 years. I think AI as a autonomous overlord is going to be 2 or 3 years away for a very long time, because that last 5% of AI is self-actualized dominating is a real son of a bitch. And anybody who's done complex project management knows you do 95% of the project in 3 months. That last 5% takes 2 years. And you're like, how did we scope this badly? Well, that is scoping projects. Humans are not good predictors. It's part of how we are. And then Hank asks, AI takes over parts of what used to be middle management. I'd argue AI takes over parts right now of what was individual contributor more than middle management, and how it structures org. So there's a whole theory about that in the future of work, where we spent since 1972, precisely that year. I don't know why that year, but since precisely 1972, if you look at the chart of productivity gains and wage gains, the divergence is increasingly insane. In 1972, the average CEO earned 21 times what the average line worker did. Here in 2024, it's like 340 times, right? The 1%'s capturing wealth. Screw the 1%, Rob. Yes, okay, fine. But also, that divergence between the productivity gains and the benefit to the average worker was incremental. It was easy to just quietly keep siphoning off the bit of gains up and keep our growth flat. I think we're at a point where the amount of labor required to deliver a project, a thing, a whatever, is dropping sharply. And there's 2 futures ahead of us. One of them, I read science fiction, as you may already have guessed from most people only work, we get all the content marketing they need for the whole month, just delivered, done, cool. One worker on my company takes about maybe 5-6 hours to deliver all that content for the client. I could easily say I'm going to charge the client, I don't know, $2, $3, $4 grand, whatever for it. Pay my worker, whatever, $100 an hour times 6 hours, $600. There we go, it's done. I've captured the whole delta. Good for me. I think the way we need to build companies to keep workers fed, to keep some equity in place so that you pay profit back in. You say, as I've mentioned, every individual contributor is now a manager. It's a manager of autonomous AI agents. We don't pay the agents. That'd be silly. It's just silicone. We then need to give profit share back to the individual contributor who's now a middle manager, because the better they run their AIs, the more productive the company is, the more revenue we all make. You pay that back in. There's the companies who want to maximize shareholder revenue and CEO revenue short term. At some point, legislation needs to come in and say, you can't keep capturing this insane logarithmic productivity boost. We have to start pushing that back down to where individual contributors see the revenue. And I think org structure where there's only team leads, middle management, and senior management, that AI and silicon is doing all the individual contributions, we're going to have to find a way through legislation, through agreement, through I don't know what, where we are sharing more of that revenue gain up, back down. I hope I answered both those questions. So there are, I think, 2 or 3 principal engines that we're using internally at Crowd Tamers. We use Claude for all of our copy creation. 3.5 Sonnet, which just came out, I think either last week or this week as of this recording, does a very good job on outputs when properly prompted to give you like text you just use. Some human tweaking, mostly human checking, right? Is this AI saying true things? You can actually usually ask the AI, you wrote all this stuff, is it all true? And it'll go, oh no, I lied about that part. You can be like, bro, what are you doing? You knew it was a lie. Why'd you do it? That loop in there is a big part of making sure we don't make false claims for our clients. We do use AI. We use it a bit in advertising buying and media buying. But the problem is the way Crowd Tamers buys our media, these minimum viable sprints I talked about, nobody else does this. So you get somebody else's AI for media buying and you say, do this, and it goes, what? Why would you? How? No, this is a dumb way to buy ads. And it's because when we're doing minimum viable sprints, we're not actually trying to buy revenue. We're buying education. We're learning who the audience is and what they want to hear. And because we're not buying the thing everyone buys with ads, which is sales, AI falls apart. We use AI some for design and layouts, because when you have to make 40 to 80 ad images for somebody to ship a new set of ads for a minimum viable sprint, having AI do that and lay it all out for you once you build the first template, we think that's tremendously. We also use AI heavily in video editing to produce better outputs, find the most interesting parts of the video, and then share them. Yeah, those are the main ones here that we use currently. As more tools show up, I'm trying new ones all the time. So at the high level, right, I wrote this document 3 years ago now, and actually published it on Crowd Tamers. It's called The Why of Crowd Tamers. And at the core of it, capitalism is a terrible system and we have none better. That's the first statement here. I'm going to first moving statements here. Right now, we're at late stage capitalism, whatever. Things have gotten pear-shaped. There are a lot of great business ideas out there that would succeed if they knew how. The go-to-market system that I have is repeatable across almost any industry, across almost any product. I've had it work at $5 video games back when I was working at Good Old Games. I've had it work at $60,000, $70,000 consultators for some people who are doing incredible stuff. And I did go to market for a company that's detecting autism in 1-year-olds, which is crazy early. And the earlier you intervene in someone's life, the better the whole rest of their life is. So there you go. A company that's helping with carbon capture and figuring out what is a way to actually reverse some of the effects of global warming. They go to market. A company that's helping people figure out how to invest in companies like that. I mean, all kinds of these companies are doing cool things. I don't if you had a productivity app like another Asana, I'd be like, cool. 1, I don't think I can help you. 2, I don't think I wanna. People are doing interesting projects. Those are the ones I prefer to work with. Usually, if you're working really hard, you're probably not doing it right. Especially now, with all this AI. You should be able to work smarter. My team gets paid the same whether they work an 8-hour day or a 2-hour day, as long as the work gets done. And then, because I profit share, if we are all working really hard, because we have that many clients, we all make more money. So that's actually not bad either. Well, I can help. So people are talking about the power of Sora, which is the new video AI. And I'll invert your question. The idea of a movie is a 2-hour piece of work, right? Or even a video like this is going to be an hour, right? Holding a thought that long, can't do right now. And likewise with LLMs, you can't write a novel with an LLM. It'll lose the thread. All of these things we're not there yet. The technology is going to be really assisting humans in delivering, call it tokenized pieces of work, right? Atomized pieces of work. And over the next couple of years, I think that will remain true. It will be on us as people with persistent consciousness to be able to actually string all these little atomized pieces of work together into something substantial. If somebody comes up with a sustainable AI consciousness that can hold a thought for an hour, a day, a week, that will be really disruptive. Currently, I don't hear anybody talking about that kind of problem. So, but to answer your question, what excites me? What made me leap out of bed in the morning? Not much. I'm not a very excitable person. The need to make some asymmetric opportunity now. Right? I gave a talk in San Francisco 3-4 months ago now. That's actually where I met Hank. And that talk was the name we all know in the Industrial Revolution is Henry Ford. And he obviously, cars, cool, good for him. Henry Ford doesn't exist without Henry, it's Hemsworth, Henry, I'll have to look it up now, I've forgotten his name. But the man who invented the ability to produce chromium steel reliably, right? Which is the basis for the entire Industrial Revolution. No one knows his name. Now, Henry Ford didn't invent any of the processes that made Ford Motor Engine Company possible. Cars were already around by the time he was doing what he was doing. Assembly line was already there for meatpacking. It existed. producing steel at scale came from the Bessemer Company, which is where this other gentleman invented the chromium steel process. He spent 10 years and 10,000 experiments to figure out how to make steel repeatedly. And then Henry Ford took 3 ideas, put them together, and went, look at me. I'm a gazillionaire. Good for me. The need for us, human, not just me, Trevor, at Crowd Tamers, to find what is the equivalent of that for AI, and hopefully put it in the hands of somebody who's less of a egotistical maniac than some of the CEOs we can mention who are well known and somewhat beloved by Wall Street. That's important. And my mission with Crowd Tamers, right, getting more CEOs to their $1 million, is basically, if I were just to join a company as their CMO and grow them, I can maybe do like 10 more before I get old enough where I'm irrelevant and don't know how to do things anymore. And talk about back in the days, I had dial-up internet, so we didn't have ports in our eyeball that directly stream the internet. Okay, if I want to make many bets, right, think of it as dollar cost averaging on the stock market, think of it as whatever, you place enough small bets, some of them pop. Those are the ones that will be transformative. And what gets me up in the morning is saying, how do I place more small bets today to make a better future 10 years from now for, my kids? That's why most people grow up and decide to quit just saying like, hey, how do I find a better vacation spot? It's not, I've got 3 kids, right? I'm trying to make a world better for them. And so how do I make enough small bets where something pays off for them?
So that's all of my questions. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about or share for the next sort of 5-10 minutes?
Sure. One of the things that interested me about Quorum One, back when I met Hank and Track and all those folks in San Francisco, is you're all trying to figure out, right, what is a better, different, whatever way of doing business look like. I saw, before I had to reload my connection, someone asked, tell me about your profit share and how it works. And so all that's old is new again. I literally built my entire profit sharing system off of how pirate crews in the 17th century did. We have shares, although it is not like securities as issued by the stock exchange, because I'm an LLC. There's only one share as for like a legal share. We have shares of revenue, and they are paid out basically top line revenue after salaries. So kind of the EBITDA is 28% shared amongst the company. Individual contributors get paid 1 share. Team lead get paid 2 share. I'm the owner's share, which is a quadruple share, just like it was back then, because I figured, hey, it was a good enough system that untutored, washed pirates could agree it was equitable and organize violent enterprise based upon these rules. This is time tested. And why we've left it behind, I don't know. But it is also, it's a really weird way to run a modern business. I get that. I even have a provision at the 5-year mark in my company. We're going to have an election. Maybe somebody else will be in charge after the election. They'll find a leader they like better than me. Okay. And I'll be the owner and no longer the captain of my little crew, and away it will go. I will probably remain in charge, but there's no guarantees. Building a company that way is, to me, about acknowledging that most business owners, how do I say this and not sound paternalistic? F it, I'll go for it. Most business owners are kind of like when you tell your child, you can have anything you want in the house, and they go, great, I'm eating ice cream. And it's enjoyable now. Probably tonight when you have stomach pains, you will regret it. But we have built all of our business thinking around what's this quarter's goal to be maximized for this quarter's profit. Next quarter's profit is next quarter's profit. And particularly in the public market, there's actually a legal requirement to optimize for this quarter's profit over next year's gain. Because of that, we aren't doing, we're all of us binging on junk food, and capitalism is in a bad place in many ways. Business models that are thinking further ahead and saying, I'm building my agency with the expectation if I do it right, most of my employees should stick around for 5 to 10 years, which for an agency is insane. Average duration in an agency is 18 months. Of the people who I hired more than 2 years ago, I hired 3. 2 of them are still with me. One of them got offered a job to go write TV for Hollywood, and I told her, go. That's a way cooler job than mine, right? Go do that. But she wasn't leaving because she didn't like the company, the culture, the family, these things. She's leaving because she always wanted to write for Hollywood, and someone said, do it. And she went, peaced out, right? If I'm training a bunch of, as it turns out, team leads, managing autonomous AI agents, I'm investing a tremendous amount in training my team to do their job because they came on board to be an ad buyer or a graphic designer. And I'm saying, actually, you need to learn how to run AIs. I'm going to teach you how to do it. I want them to stick around. That investment in training is really hard to replace. That's my kind of long-term view. Quorum One is doing something different too. And I think finding a good, repeatable, sustainable way to build a business that isn't just the default everyone follows is important. We forget it. We're bad at it, particularly in the United States, we're bad at it. In truth, the worker has most of the power in a business relationship, even though they seem to have forgotten this fact. If you push things far enough, eventually we'll have a French Revolution again and we'll eat the rich. It'd be nice not to get there. More organizations are built to think about, hey, if I don't totally screw over my employees in 2 years' time, I won't be beheaded. Cool, let's think that far out, right? Quorum One is doing interesting stuff here. I got involved in talking with y'all. Anybody who's listening or watching this in a later recording, anybody who's listening, or anybody who's watching this later on, most of the people in Quorum One are founders or seniorish people. Consider, how do you build not to maximize profit, particularly in the short term, but maximize the outcomes in the long term? If more of us were better at thinking about a 5-year horizon on a business decision, one, we'd probably be pushing way harder on global warming right now, because at the 5-year time frame, it's going to be bad for almost all of us. Particularly bad for anybody who can see water, though, because we'll all be very wet. There's a reason why I'm looking to buy a house in the mountains of Quebec, because then I'll stay dry. But think of how you can put that time frame into your decision making. It can't be number one, but planning, at least in my company, works on 5 different horizons. There's the day, the week, the month, the quarter, and the year. And there's also a 5-year. And keeping that in your head all the time is hard. It is valuable. And if you build your company with the right structure to make that happen, your long-term outcomes are way better. And I encourage y'all listening, how can you make that happen where you are properly? That's a fair question. So my litany of mistakes I've made is endless, because as the founder, everything that's wrong is in the end your fault. Requirement, make better choices back then, almost requires that I did all the things wrong that I've done to reach this point. I set out to make Crowd Tamers a different kind of company. So far, that hasn't really been tested. Like, I've had good years, I've had bad years. But business, the idea of is fundamentally revenue share model, is fundamentally expecting more out of your team, working deliberately, aggressively, asynchronous and remote. Like, all of these things, do they pay off? Can they work? So far, the answer is yes. I don't regret any of that. I've been running remote teams since 2005. So I have a whole bunch of experience doing it. I knew a bunch of things not to do. I'm sure as I come around, year 5, year 6, whatever, I will discover things that I'm like, Trevor, you idiot. What were you doing? I don't know what they are yet. And one of the things that drives my wife crazy about me is right now, the problems I'm aware of, I solve. I don't worry about the things I'm not aware of because I can't try and do anything about them. So I go to sleep with a clean conscience every night, which drives my wife crazy. She's like, what if? I'm like, I don't know. I'll figure it out when I get there. I know. That's my point of view. Oh, let me pop this open real quick. I lost Greg for chat here. Let me pop it open. But here we go, finally. All right. Pirate Booty Share. Okay, cool. Link us the term sheets. You're asking for, linking how my profit share works. Where somebody whose name is just Star Avocado Star. So I I don't know how you pronounce that. I don't speak emoji fluently. I'm sorry. I'm too old. There you go. I'm on LinkedIn. Hit me up, Trevor Longino on LinkedIn. There's just the one of me. And if you were worried you found the wrong one, there's only one mustache like this. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks very much. It was great being on the show, in the interview. I'm unsure what we call this, but I appreciated being here. Alrighty. Cool. See y'all.